If looking in the mirror feels like a reminder of everything you've lost, whether it's vibrant, colorful hair and is now turned gray, or your nails have gone brittle, or your skin has gotten wrinkled, right? You feel like you've lost your youth, maybe your confidence and your worth along with that. And so I need you to hear this today, what I'm about to say. The way you criticize yourself when nobody's around and nobody's listening, that quiet voice, it's doing more damage to you than you think. And you would never talk to your friend this way, right? So, and here's the truth. You don't need another confidence quote or some self-talk mantra, right? You don't need to pep talk yourself. What you really need is to feel safe again, even when it's just you all by yourself. Okay. So by the end of this episode, I'm going to be sharing 3 shifts with you that helped me stop picking myself apart and finally feel at peace with myself when I look in the mirror. Stick around, right, to the end, because I'm going to be sharing the one thing I used to do when I looked at myself in the mirror every single day without even realizing it, that was silently wrecking my confidence. And you might actually be doing it too. And so, if we haven't met yet, I'm Michelle Rose, host of the Making Life Beautiful Again podcast. And I work with midlife women who want to feel beautiful, confident, and connected to themselves again, inside and outside. Okay. And I help them quiet that noise, let go of those old beauty standards, and finally see someone that they actually love when they look in the mirror. I also want to let you know every single episode, there is a corresponding worksheet that accompanies it so that you can dive deeper. You can find that in the Making Life Beautiful Again Facebook group. So please go over there and join it and join the conversation with us. So let's go ahead and be honest because the mirror, it has never been just a mirror, right? For a lot of us, it's become a magnifying glass. Um, of course, not a magnifying glass where we get to admire the things we're looking at, but we inspect those flaws in the areas we don't love. Okay. You may glance at it on your way out the door, not really appreciate what you're looking at, but really just kind of, I know, like to take a double check to make sure that there's nothing wrong before you walk out that door. And we may see a wrinkle, a puffy eye from a sleepless night, a spot that you swear wasn't there on your skin yesterday, right? And so you're sitting there and you're scanning, right? You're not admiring and you're doing it really fast. Almost like if you took too long, you might find something even worse, right? Like it's a performance review. We step up, take a breath, brace ourselves, and then start tallying up all the things that we feel like need to be fixed. And here's what I really want to say to all of you, especially if this is hitting close to home at all. Those rushed, quick little critiques that you're doing, they don't just disappear, right? They stack up one on top of the other. And then before you know it, quietly you've built this mountain of self-rejection. And that mountain becomes hard to stand up against, right? And so until one day, like you don't even realize it, that you've avoided eye contact with yourself now. You know, you're putting on mascara, fixing your hair, but you're not even looking at yourself. You're not connecting with the person that's in that mirror. And babe, you can't fall in love with someone you can't even look at in the eyes, right? Like to fall in love with someone, you want to look at them, you adore them, you can't stop yourself. And so you can't fall in love with someone you can't even look at in the eyes. That is the very thought that hit me, right? I had to ask myself, like, what would happen if I stopped scanning myself and actually started to see myself, right? Just for a second. And so what I'm talking about though, when you look to see yourself, it can't involve judgment or feeling like you got to fix something, just looking at yourself, right? Like that little tiny, tiny shift, it's the beginning of coming home to that person in the mirror, right? And here's the thing, we all want to be seen and loved. right? That's like at the core of our being. And so if you can't even truly look at yourself or see yourself, you can't expect somebody else to, right? And so when you look at yourself, you can't do it with judgment. You can't do it with a checklist, right? And deep down, you're going to have to start believing that you're worthy of being loved. So you want to be seen, you want to be loved, but you got to look at yourself to be seen. And you've got to look at that person as being worthy of the love that you want to give it, right? And so this isn't about self-talk. It's about reclaiming that relationship and that connection with you, right? And because you are the only person in your lifetime that you have to be with for the rest of your life. And not just that, but every minute of your life. So it's the most important relationship you have. And so, isn't it time that you invest in that important relationship? Like when you catch your reflection in the mirror, what's usually the first thing or feeling that's coming up? Like just naming it is the first beautiful step towards your healing and all the things that you're about to walk into, right? And there's something I wish someone had kind of told me years ago, that voice that's in your head, the one that picks your reflection apart, right? The questions your worth and makes you feel like you're not enough. Like it might sound like you, but it's not really you. And I learned that the hard way. Like years ago, I signed up for a women's conference through my church. And this is the part where I get vulnerable, but the cost was way out of my budget, right? It was $1,200 to attend this 2-day conference. But I'd been to one of their earlier conferences before, and it was amazing, right? And so that first conference, it focused on being a better wife to my husband, being a better communicator to other men in my life. And let me tell you something, I threw myself into that like a dutiful overachiever. So I justified that price when I had to pay it because it was for someone else, right? And I knew it was about me showing up for those other people, and I was willing to do it. But this conference, the one that I'm about to share the story about, the conference was about me learning to understand and accept and value myself. And the truth is, um, I I didn't realize it at the time, but I didn't realize I was worth it, right? And so the way that this company puts on these conferences, you get to a certain point in the weekend where you can walk away and get all your money refunded back. And so they give you a chance to walk out, right? And I was seriously considering walking out. Like I'd been venting to other people who were there with us from our church. My sweet boss was one of them. She was a pastor and she pulled me aside. And I'll never forget what she said because she said, "You had no problem spending that money to learn how to be a better wife, but you're struggling here to spend it on yourself. Like, why is that?" That it was almost like it shot me between the eyes. I was so taken back. I only had a few minutes to make this decision. I didn't have hours to make this to decide. So I went back to my room and thankfully my roommate was at breakfast. And I stood in front of the mirror and I just stared. And I didn't like what I saw, right? Like not just physically, but emotionally. Like I felt broken. And and next thing I know, I started to cry. And it wasn't this gentle tear down the cheek kind of cry. It was an ugly cry, like the kind that marks your face for the whole day and you can't deny it. And then something really wild happened because as I kept staring, I held that eye contact with myself. And let me just tell you, that is way more vulnerable than looking at someone else in the eyes. And I can't tell you why. I'm sure there's a scientific reason for it, but I felt like I was being stripped bare and naked. I didn't even believe the words that I whispered next, but like I said them anyway. I was like, "You are worthy." And again, I said again, "You are worthy." And over, I began repeating those words. My brain was trying to reject it, right? My heart was arguing. My spirit was like trembling inside and freaking out. But I just started laughing because it was so awkward, so absurd, so ridiculous. Like I was so embarrassed that here I am talking to myself and staring at myself like I'm a stalker in the mirror, right? But I couldn't stop. Eventually that whisper, it turned into a shout, and it was, you are worthy. You are worthy to stay. You are worthy to be here, right? And so I stayed. And in that one moment, me in the mirror, it was the real me staring back, right? It changed everything. The mask was gone. I wasn't trying to hide, right? And here's why I'm telling you all of this, because that critic that you listen to and you hear in a constant manner, the one that's saying you're not worth the money or the time or the energy or the mirror space, right? Or the skincare or the whatever it is, right? That voice might have been planted by somebody else, right? But you don't have to let it be that way, right? It doesn't get to stay. It's not your voice, right? Because your real voice, the one that's been buried under all that shame or the silence, it's still there. And she is worthy. She gets to stay. And so if any part of this is hitting home, just drop a raised hand or a comment that says, this is me in the comments. You don't have to explain, right? In fact, we all probably would be the ones raising our hands. But James 5:16, it talks about confession so that you may be healed. So I provide this opportunity for you to make that comment so that you may be healed. Because sometimes healing starts with just admitting that you've been listening to the wrong voice for far too long. And if this is stirring something in you, if you're ready to have that mirror moment, the kind that brings this type of healing and the experience that I walked through, that starts chipping away at that unbelief in ourselves, at that mountain that you've built over the years, I made that worksheet for you. It's a simple worksheet that just walks you through the same kind of moment that I had, but in your own words and at your own space, in your own private bathroom and privacy, right? So you can go grab it in the Making Life Beautiful Again Facebook group. It's waiting for you there. So let's go ahead and keep going. Here is the truth. Confidence isn't about getting everything under control. And I'm going to tell you, I used to be a control freak, probably still am. And so I tried to control my confidence. And so, confidence, though, it's about creating safety for yourself. Right? Most of us think if I could totally fix this one thing, like my weight, my skin, my house, my emotions, then I'd finally feel confident. And I get that because I do work with women with face exercise and skincare and fitness and all those things. But that's not confidence, that's control. So that's why I like to help you with the mindset on the front side and then be able to take the tools of the skincare and all of that and let it be a reflection on your outside of what you've already done on the inside, right? Because when we try to control things, it's exhausting. What I've learned, what that mirror moment taught me is that confidence doesn't come from perfection, it comes from commitment, right? It comes from connection with ourselves. You know, I didn't stay at that $1,200 conference because I believed I was worthy. I stayed because I wasn't ready for that yet, but I stayed because I wanted to become someone who believed those words that I was worthy. It's a totally different thing, right? I was still in process. I took that emotion, my longing to feel worthy, and I turned it into motion, right? And that's the shift I want to offer you today, where you get to take your emotion and move it to motion, right? Because you don't have to believe it yet. You just have to start. And so here's some gentle, practical ways to help you move from that fire into that motion. Okay. I want you to start with eye contact, right? Just for a few seconds. And again, not checking your flaws, not to fix, but just to look at yourself. See the real you, the one that is there waiting to be seen, the one that's waiting to be loved. Then I want you to say one thing you want to believe. So it could be like, I'm still growing, right? That one might be easier to believe. Or I am enough, right? Or I'm allowed to take up this space. Like you may want to whisper it, but I do want you to say it out loud, right? Shout it if you need to, but like repeat it until your body starts to believe what you mean or starts bringing emotion to the surface. Because, like I said, my brain and my spirit, it was freaking out. It did not believe those words. So the first time may not connect with those words, but I want you to say it until you pull that emotion into place. Okay. Then, what would be really good, this is number three, set a 2 minute timer each day, just 2 minutes, right? Just to be with you. Ask yourself these two questions. How do I feel today? And what do I need? Because once you start doing that, you get in touch with what is inside. What do you need? Do I need water? Do I need sleep? Do I need time to play? Right? Because here's the thing, when you love someone, you give them your time. So let's start with 2 minutes. You make space for them, right? You check in. And you can't even keep yourself from doing it. So you're gonna find that 2 minutes over time may not be enough. And a lot of people do this through journaling each morning, right? Because they spend it with the Lord and themselves, and it's a beautiful thing. That's one of the things I love doing. But why wouldn't you want to do this for you, right? Confidence, again, it doesn't start with the control, it starts with that connection. And this is a really easy way to do that. And so that connection, it starts with the moment you look in the mirror and you decide to say, like, I'm worthy, I'm enough, or whatever. So tell me in the comments, what's one thing you want to start believing about yourself? Speak that life over ourselves today. So if today brought something up for you, maybe a memory, a feeling, or even just a quiet awareness that you hadn't tapped into, that's why I made that mirror moment worksheet for you. But if that feels too big to navigate on your own, please reach out to me by email, Michelle@MichelleDayRose. I'm here, I've been there, and I would be honored to walk that with you, truly. Okay. Okay, so next week, we're going to be taking this conversation into the body. I'll be joined by Amy Bryan from the Fat Loss School podcast, and we're going to be talking about how to lose menopausal belly fat. And now I want to be honest, there was a time when I would have listened to that type of conversation with the ears turned into control, right? Looking for the fix, the formula, that thing that would finally make me good enough, right? But now I listen because I'm listening as someone who values myself enough to care for my health, right? Not because I need to shrink, but because I want to feel strong, energized, and ready to go play with my grandson, and my future granddaughter who's coming very soon. So I would really love for you to join us. And if this ministered to you at all, please share this episode with others. This is my life story and why I do what I do. And I am happy to be sharing this moment with you.